At Third Space Charity, we support a mentally resilient community by offering accessible counseling care to young adults between the ages of 18 and 29. This is Mental Health Matters, where we discuss topics and services related to mental health and wellness in our community.
Hello, welcome to Mental Health Matters. My guest today is Jennifer Robbins. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you are the Executive Director of Launch Okanagan.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about you and your role there and what you do.
So my background is not actually in the not-for-profit space. So Launch Okanagan is a charity, but I spent 15 years, the beginning of my career, in banking. So I have worked from coast to coast in clients, focused roles. I also worked in a regional leadership role. I'm originally from Newfoundland, so I've got to see every little part of our amazing country. But all throughout that time, I have volunteered. I have, participated in boards. So the not-for-profit space has always been really close to my heart. And after working in banking for 15 years, I actually had my first son. And I had 2 kiddos quickly and took a bit of time off work. And when I was ready to go back into work again, I was very fortunate. Just at the exact time I went looking, the opportunity to work for Launch Okanagan came up. So for me, it really combines, the 2 things that I'm most passionate about, which is, charities, not-for-profit space, and helping people make better financial decisions and help them really understand money matters.
So tell us about Launch Okanagan then. What's your mission and what are your services and programs?
So Launch Okanagan, we actually started in 2009 here in Kelowna. We're a local charity. And we focus on one thing. That is really improving our community's financial literacy. So when I talk to people about financial literacy, it's having the skills, it's having the knowledge, most importantly, having the confidence to make financial decisions that are right for you and for your family. So we run programs here locally. We work with a lot of other not-for-profits in the region. We also run a few programs that are open to anybody in our community to join. But we want people, when they walk away from one of our programs, not just to feel like they understand money more or that they've gained some skills. So that obviously is pretty important. But what we want them to feel is that they've got more confidence, because we know that confidence will spill into other areas of their life, not just within their money matters. But we also want them to see a different path for their future. So I always explain to people that yes, we're here to offer financial education programs and we want to build knowledge and skills, so important. But at the end of the day, we want people to walk away with that renewed sense of hope and confidence to go, you know what, I can do things differently for myself. I can create a different path, or the path that I want to go on is one that I can do that feeling of whatever my situation is, I can deal with that.
That's inspiring. That's good work.
Yeah, what's inspiring is the people that we get to meet. So what
kinds of people? Yeah, what kinds of people would come to you, and how would they hear about you?
So we work with a really, really diverse group of people. And I would say the most inspiration that I've gotten is actually from meeting the people in our programs. So inspiring. So we work a lot in the community with youth. We work with people in recovery. We work with people in vulnerable situations or maybe going through some significant life transitions. And, we can start a program with a group of people and they're often quite quiet. So when we come in to run an in-person program, we could be with a group of clients of another agency, like 10 women sitting around the table, for example, and they can be quiet. And then we start the discussion with your relationship with money. And we start talking about our feelings around money, our past experiences around money. And I don't think that that's what they were expecting necessarily. So I think
they thought maybe you were going to give them a spreadsheet and you were going to add up your budget or
here's budgeting boot camp, let's get going. I think that's the expectation, right? If you're going to talk about money, it's here's the facts, here's the figures, here's your budget, let's get right down to it.
Well, that was what the education was for myself in school. It was literally, how do you balance like a bank book?
Right.
And how do you put together a budget? I can't really think of much else in terms of like practical life
knowledge
for finance.
And I mean, learning how to budget is a very important skill because it's all about making decisions and having control over your finances. So it's less about filling in the blanks. It's more about creating a plan and an intention for yourself of how am I going to spend the money that I have. So that's really obviously important, but money is so much more than the textbook stuff. It's how we feel about it. It's what we learned when we were 6 years old. What did we see happening in our home? Did people talk to us about money or did they not? And unfortunately, the less we talk about something, and if we feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to make these adult decisions, you can also start to see people experiencing a lot of shame. So if they make a decision that they feel like, oh, I wish I didn't do that, who can I talk to about this? I don't feel like I can talk to anybody. Then it starts to layer on those feelings of shame and uncertainty. So when we get a group together, all those big emotions are in the room. It's been my experience that when you offer people a safe place to talk about it, most people are very comfortable talking. They want to talk. And the magic happens is when they hear other people saying the same things. So an example, we run Dollars and Cents on Zoom. It's an 8-week online program. We run it a few times a year. Anybody can join. So we've had people from 16 to 80. Just found out a few weeks ago one of our participants is 80, which is amazing.
Amazing.
Like always learning. I love that. And so it's a Zoom room full of strangers, sometimes 60, 70 people. Most of them might use a first name or initial, fully anonymous, lots of screens turned off, which we don't mind that one bit. My point being, it's a very diverse group of people all together on Zoom. We start asking them questions about talking about money makes me feel, fill in the blank, or what are your first experiences with money? What do you believe? And the chat is just on fire.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So you would think maybe people wouldn't be comfortable discussing some of these topics, but when you're in that safe space, you're anonymous in that group, people share a lot of really, really hurtful things that, stresses they've been dealing with their money for a long time. The group's quite supportive. The feedback I get after that first class was, oh, I've never had the chance to talk about money like that. That really felt good, knowing that I'm not alone with how I feel.
It seems that you're filling a pretty critical need in terms of the climate in Canada right now with inflation and just the cost of living. What do you say to someone who says, I feel really stressed about money and it causes me a lot of anxiety in my life?
Yeah, that's tough. And the first thing I would say to someone like that is that you're not alone. Like, you are 100% not alone. But in dealing with that stress, you've got to be comfortable, having the conversations. But I do think knowing that you're not the only one, and that a lot of this is some of the situation right now, there's things we can do that are in our control. There's a whole lot of things that are not within our control. So inflation, everything costing so much more, housing, being such a challenge, whether you're a renter or a homeowner, it's just really, really difficult. So I would never tell someone, oh, you can just budget away every financial problem just because you're not budgeting. So yeah, can budgeting help us make better decisions with the money that we have? 100%. I really have seen that it can help. However, we do have to recognize that there's a lot of bigger system challenges, lots of economic, challenges that are outside of our control as an individual. So it's important to acknowledge that and go, yep, that is very challenging, and not everything we can change there. So let's look at what we can control. And I've seen that when people take the time to get an assessment of like, where am I? Like, where am I with my finances right now? Do I know how much I'm spending in different areas? Do I have a good understanding of what income's coming in? What does my debt picture look like? What options do I have? So it can be challenging at first to actually open your own money book, so to speak, your own personal finances, and look at it and go, okay, this is where I'm at today. But that is step one, is understanding, okay, what am I dealing with? And then even if you can start to make some small adjustments or changes, if you can get more information, if you can learn about what options you have, it's like you're taking back control, of the reins. You put yourself back in the driver's seat, because I think with money can come in and go out, and we cross our fingers each month and hope for the best. Like, that is one way to spend money. It's not the best way. Or you look at, okay, what's coming in? I'm going to make mindful decisions about how to spend it. If there isn't enough money to meet all of my needs, like, what options do I have? If my debt is overwhelming, what options do I have? But at least you start to gather information and knowledge, and you can perhaps start to see a path forward. And it's putting that control, gaining that control again is a really powerful first step.
One thing that stood out to me in our initial conversation around this was you talked about values discovery and getting really clear on your own personal value system, so that when you go to spend money, you can see if it aligns, and then having goals based on your values. So can you speak a little bit to that process?
Yeah, absolutely. The values discussion that we have in our program, it's quite impactful from what people have told me, but I've also found it really impactful in my own life. So basically it's looking at, what's my guiding light? What is most important to me in my life? When it comes to the money and resources that I have, how do I prioritize where that goes? So if someone values generosity, as an example, and being generous just fills up their heart, then perhaps there's someone that looks for little opportunities to give back or donate to causes that are near and dear to them. Maybe they look for people in their life to do little gestures for, and that's a priority, and they want to make sure they have money in their budget to do that. If someone values education, you would expect, if maybe they had children in their home, that they were putting even a small amount each month away for their children's education. If someone valued life experience, like, they're not about stuff, right? They don't care about their furniture, or everything for them is about, I want to get out there and experience things. You would expect, if you looked at their budget, that more of their money was going towards doing stuff or saving for travel, and that they probably weren't spending that much on, furniture, household items, things that are going to fill the closet. So once you've got a clear idea of, this is what's important to me, this is my values, then you can have a look at, okay, now what are my financial goals? Like, what do I want to accomplish? So maybe someone who values life experiences and traveling, one of their goals is, I want to go to this place in this year. So they have a destination and they've got a timeline in mind. Okay, great. Now, the third step would be, let's look at your budget. What do you have available in your budget to help you fund those goals and dreams? But the bigger message in all of this is that it's very personal. So I think we sometimes think that, yet we can also easily be influenced by what's going around us, What's my friend's priority, or what are my parents or relatives telling me I should be doing with my money? We try really hard to get the message out to people that it's your money, so you're the one that gets to decide what you value, you're the one that gets to decide what your goals are, and you ultimately decide how to spend it.
We each have our own very unique definition of success.
So important.
I was speaking to a financial advisor, and she said that a lot of people right now are being confronted with their keeping up with the Joneses tendencies, because when things become tighter, we are being confronted with what we can and can't say yes to. What would you say to someone who feels like they're constantly trying to keep up with others in their life?
So I think it's easier to deal with that when you have a clear picture of what you value and what your goals are. So an example is if you've got friends that are, you know, quite socially active and they're always inviting you to do something and you're like, oh, I don't have the money to do that. So if you simply said like, I can't afford it or I don't have the money, probably doesn't feel really good, right? You could say that, but maybe it doesn't feel quite right. You could say, well, you know, it's actually not in my budget right now. I'm working on these other priorities, or I'm doing these other things here. I can't do that.
Yeah, we're saving for a trip. Or
yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm excited about this other goal, so I can't do everything. You know, I've got priorities. I have a plan. So I think that's a really positive take on it. And the reality is, I mean, who can do all the things? There's always prioritization.
Always going to be, right.
Yep, something comes before something else. But it's, do you know what your priorities are? So we get, you know, participants in our program that come to us. And again, there's never any judgment about you spend your money how you want to spend it. But I'll never forget this woman coming to me and saying like, I just looked back at my spending for the past couple of months and I'm spending, you know, $7 a day on, not here to pick on fancy drinks or anything, but she's like, I'm spending this every day and I guess I never really did the math about it. So she did this on her own and she said, this is how much I'm spending a year. She said, I could do an awful lot with that. I said, well, it's not an all or nothing situation. You don't have to like, maybe if you're, I don't know, doing this fancy drink every day, maybe you do it 2 or 3 times a week and it's your thing to do on Mondays and Fridays. I don't know, it's your money. You get to make those decisions. What would you do if you could free up a little bit of that money every week? Where would you put it? And she had a plan. Like she's like, well, I would do this or I would save for this. I'm like, well, great. That's yours to do if that's what would make you excited. So is it easier to stick to your goals and plans when you're excited about it or you can see how it's going to help you? I think it is.
So what are some of the financial trends that you're seeing with the people that choose to work with you and enroll in your programs?
I would say we're seeing a lot of people that are feeling overwhelmed and stressed. So, and I don't think that's anything new. Like there's always been financial stressors at all different times. It's just a little bit more pronounced right now, and I think it's a broader group of people that are feeling that stress. So there's stress, overwhelm, and often people don't know where to go. So they don't know where to go to get their questions answered. There's also a lot of information out there. So how do you, are you taking advice from someone on TikTok? Are you reading articles that have been written in the US that might not really translate well to Canada? So I see people overwhelmed, you know, stressed, trying to figure out options to manage their debt in an interest rate environment that's just been increasing. But I also see people that are really excited and interested to learn. That's probably what keeps me going the most, is when we work with a group of people and then they get excited and they start doing the things. So whether that's opening a savings account or creating a budget, writing down a goal for themselves, and you can see their energy level start to perk up. And when I first started working with Launch and started reading some of the feedback, I expected feedback around, I learned this thing or how I've done this, but there was a couple words that kept coming up over and over again, and it was hope and optimism. And confidence, actually, 3, yeah. That people were telling us that they had hope for their future, that they felt more optimistic and that their confidence had increased. So that was really neat for me to see that. And when I see that in our programs, or I'm talking to one of our facilitators and they've had a really good experience with one of the program participants, it's like it keeps you going.
So good. Hope is important.
100%, yeah.
A lot of things shift when you lose that piece, is what I'm coming to understand working in mental health. 100%.
And I'm clearly not a brain researcher, but I do know that when your brain is very stressed, and you know the impact that has on your body, your mental health, but it actually impacts your decision making. So money is all about making decisions. We make so many decisions every day. And when you're in stress mode, the parts of your brain that are going to best help you make those decisions, not accessible.
They're not there.
They're not there.
No.
So making decisions from fear or stress, it's really hard to make the decisions that are right for you in that moment. So you can imagine, like, if you're stressed about your finances and being able to pay your bills and you don't know where to go for help, and you're looking at your rent coming due quickly again, you know, your heart is racing, your body is feeling the effects of that stress. It's actually even hard to work. It's hard to concentrate. So now your employment could be at risk. Like, there's a lot of things that may not initially be obvious when you think about being stressed about money. It also negatively impacts your relationships. So with a partner, with friends, like, you just maybe, you know, go in a corner and hide for a bit because you just, you know, you're so overwhelmed. So there's lots of different negative impacts. But yeah, when you can turn that around and start to see a path forward, then that really changes things.
So we talk about mental health on this show. Mm-hmm. And so what would be, I know you're not a mental health clinician, but if you were to relate how you feel about your finances to mental health, what would the correlation be?
Well, I think about like relating to your finances like it's a relationship. So we talk a lot about your relationship with money. So you think about your relationship with people in your life. You've got some people that lift you up. They're your supporters. It's a very healthy, you know, two-way relationship. And then there's other people that maybe you could even call it a toxic relationship. It's not a good relationship for you. So when we can help people build a healthy relationship with their money and have those positive beliefs, then I think that really positively then impacts your mental health and well-being. So I think we need to, you know, when it comes to finances, it's about financial wellness. So not just like what's in your budget and, you know, all these number metrics. It's how do you feel about your relationship? Do you have a positive beliefs, you know, around money? So money can help achieve goals. Money can help bring people together. I can find ways to, you know, have enough money. I'm deserving of money. I can make good money decisions. Like, those are really positive beliefs versus, you know, there's never going to be enough money. I can't be trusted with money. I make terrible decisions. So, like, how is that going to impact your mental health if you're always believing these negative things about money, thereby believing really negative things about yourself? I had a woman in a program last week that said, oh, I always make terrible decisions about money. And we were in the middle of a conversation, so the group kind of rallied around her a little bit and said, but I'm learning how to make better decisions about money today. So it's that forward looking, like what happened in the past is the past, like what can I control today so that my relationship with money is better, my beliefs around money are better, and then knowing that that's going to help your overall outlook, your mental health. It's all connected.
It is. And so what do you do to stay well in your role as a nonprofit leader?
I find talking to other people really helpful. So whether it's other people in, you know, roles similar to mine to understand what their challenges are, what their opportunities are. So the people connection is important. And then for myself personally, it's like moving, walking, you know, having that time to get outside and just let your thoughts wander. Can solve a lot of problems that way, I think, on a really good walk. But yeah, the connecting with others is so important, and then just getting out and moving.
So good. So if people want to learn more about Launch Okanagan and your programs, or if you mentioned you're a nonprofit,
Yes.
so you need donations and fundraising to keep the programs and services going, I'm guessing?
100%.
Yeah, okay. So
the
how
only
do
way we continue to exist is from incredible donors. Yeah, absolutely. We're a charity. So our website is launchokanagan.ca. We accept donations there. You can also register for our workshops, our 8-week program. You can connect with us on our website.
Are your programs like fee-for-service programs?
No, so there's no cost. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, when people join us either through a community partner or whether it's like open to anybody in the community, we have workshops happening this month, or actually, sorry, next month, March 4th, learn how to do your taxes. So we have that one coming up, and in April we'll probably have a budgeting workshop and learn how to manage your debt workshop. Those are all offered to the community at no cost, and anybody can join.
So good. So we have no excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for being with us today, Jennifer, and telling us all about Launch Okanagan, and I hope we can all utilize their services maybe during tax season.
It's a good time. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.